Guys, what if one button in Notion could create and schedule all of your social media content? Sounds impossible, right? Well, I created this Notion content automation system and it completely changed my content game. I gave this system to a social media manager and she went from spending 20 hours a week for a client to spending less than 1 hour. And the best part, you don't need any complex tools or coding skills. If you can use Notion, you can do this. And in the next 5 minutes, I'll show you how to turn Notion into your personal content factory. Okay, so let's have a quick overview of this Notion content automation system. So what is it? It can create social media posts at scale with AI, and it can schedule and post straight from Notion. So you don't ever need to leave Notion. You can create your content, you can repurpose your content, and you can post your content to all of these different social media platforms straight from Notion. You can post Twitter threads, you can post LinkedIn carousel posts, you can even post Instagram stories straight from Notion. These are two examples of how that would look. So these images are not real photos, they are AI generated, and the templates that you see are branded templates that I created in Placid. And so these posts are just made in one click and they can be posted instantly on your social media channel, or you can first check them in Notion to see if everything's to your liking. The content distribution part of this automation I will show in the next video, but to briefly go over it, I have a creation hub where I create all of my posts, and when I'm ready to post them, I will select which channel I want to use, and with the help of an API, it will schedule them to all of the social media channels. Also, I created a parasite system so it can listen to all of these different channels from different creators, and it can transform that content into content that fits with your brand. That's also for another video. But for today, we're going to start simple. We're going to start with creating a Notion database that can create images with Google Slides. This is a free method and you don't need any tools other than Notion. You are going to need the Notion plan, so the premium plan, just because you need to be able to send webhooks to make.com. Make.com, if you're not familiar, is a automation software that enables you to connect different softwares together. They have a quite generous free plan which you can get started. So this automation that you see today is completely for free. I also created a step-by-step guide for this automation, which you can also download from the community. So if you don't want to watch this video and you want to just build this automation on your own, just download this template and it shows you step by step how to do it. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to open make.com and we're going to start with a new scenario. I'm just going to quickly show you the finished results. So this is the finished automation that we're going to build today. I'm also quickly going to show you how this looks in Notion. So in Notion, we just have a simple database like this that has a templated page. So if I open a new page, I will create a template and it will create 3 blocks, which is the title, subtitle, and the bottom text. And those things correspond to a Google slide presentation that I prepared. I will also put this in the community. Basically, if you see text in a Google slide in 2 of those brackets, it means that this content is editable. So when we will jump into make.com in a second, we will be able to change those 3 blocks of text, and those correspond to the blocks that you see here in Notion. And once I click this button, it will start to generate those posts. And once the posts are generated, they will end up in the image attachment property here in Notion. So this is a very simple and straightforward automation. I'm going to show you how to create it. It will probably take like 5 minutes. So let's get to it. So one more thing that we need, you don't see it here because it's hidden, but we have this database item ID, and this is basically the ID that represents this specific Notion row, and this makes it easier for us to test. The automation will make sense in a second. And to create this, you simply create a formula and you edit the formula and you just type ID and you click this ID, open close bracket, and you hit save. That's it. So now you have this gonna delete it because I already have it. So now you have this new property that makes it easier to test the automation. I will show you immediately. I'll copy this to clipboard, and when I create automations like this, which are based on a custom webhook, I usually don't really start immediately creating the webhook. I usually start creating a variable module which will act as a webhook, except it will be a lot quicker to test. So let's say I'm gonna call this Notion ID, and I'm gonna paste in this string that I copied here. Okay, so when I run this now, I hit run once, this Notion ID will be coming from this module. If you haven't connected your Notion to make.com, make sure to download this step-by-step tutorial in my community. Here I explain how to connect Notion to Make, and also how to install this blueprint if you don't want to build it yourself. What's next? We need a get a database module. I'm assuming you already connected your Notion to make.com, and you're gonna select this Notion ID here. And when I hit run once again, it's gonna get that specific database item. So now we're gonna have a bunch of data coming out of Notion, which we can't really use immediately like this. We need one more module. It's also a Notion module, but it's called a make an API call module. And for this, we need to call this URL, and we're gonna grab again this Notion ID here, and it's gonna be a GET request. This is all standard, so we don't need to change anything. We just need to enter this in the URL and hit OK. I'm gonna run it once again, and I open results. It's empty. That's because I'm copying this one, which is obviously empty. I'm actually gonna copy this database item ID, go back to Notion and paste in this one, run it once again. And now when I click body, I'm gonna see 4 results, and it's actually 3 results will be in this order: title, subtitle, bottom text, and the 4th will be this empty line. This is just how Notion works. And so if I open this 3rd one, it's hidden inside here, bottom text. And if I open the 2nd one, it's also hidden here, subtitle. So I'm gonna create a Google slide, create a presentation from a template. Actually, before we get into this, let me quickly show you how to create a template like this. Basically, you can just go to create a new template, and you can change the page view, page setup. So you can create a custom size. Just gonna leave it like this. You can do your styling, you can do your background colors, you can do your image, you can do your pictures, whatever you want. And whatever I put in these curly brackets, it's editable. So if I go back to my template, I'm gonna select this file in make.com. So if I go here, you're gonna have to connect this to your Google account, obviously. And I'm gonna select this presentation ID. And as you can see, when it loads it, it loads these variables that I pre-created. For the title, I will go back to the first get a database item to this module, and I will select the title from this Notion page, which is this one. For the subtitle, I'm gonna go to the results of this module, and here I'm gonna go to code, I'm gonna go to text, and I'm gonna go to plain text. So bear with me, I'm just gonna copy this to the 2nd and the 3rd as well. And in the middle here, I can actually type a number because this represents the order. So going back to Notion, we have 3 blocks, code blocks, and they're always going to be in the same order. So title is always going to be the 1st, subtitle is always going to be the 2nd, and this one is always going to be the 3rd one. And when we go back to the output of this Notion API call, what you will see is that this is an array, which means that it has several bundles and it will process them separately. So when I select this results, code, text, so when I select this plain text, you can see bottom text, but you cannot see title and subtitle. So you have to specify which of the bundles that you want to select in this specific field. Let's select a new location. So I'm gonna do tutorial slides, and I'm gonna put it here. So now we want to download this presentation that we just created. So actually, let me run this once just to see if everything works. It's creating the template. All right. So now we have a template that's created, but we we cannot see it yet. We need to download it first. We're gonna add another Google Slides module and we're gonna get a presentation. And for this presentation ID, you can probably guess we're just gonna map it from this one, and we're gonna need another Google Slides module, and here we're gonna get a page. We're gonna get a page of this specific presentation. And to do that, we need to map the presentation ID again, and then we're gonna map the slides object, slide object ID. Okay, so now let's run it again to see if everything works. Okay, it seems to work. So what we need to do now, we can just get this and just get the URL from this Google slide, and you would be tempted to just upload it to Notion directly, but unfortunately with the API in Notion we cannot upload images, so we need to store them somewhere else, and then we need to send the link from this stored file into Notion. What we'll do now is we're just gonna upload this to Dropbox, and we're gonna, when we upload the file to Dropbox, we're gonna create a share link. I'm gonna select path lower here. Let's put max access, allow download, yes. Okay, and then we need a second Notion API call, which is gonna upload that to our Notion database. So in this case, we're gonna need the v1 pages URL, and we're gonna select the Notion ID again. The method will be patch, and let me copy the body. So what I did is I create the status to say template ready. So if we go back, I created these statuses, so call them whatever you want. I just need to be reflected in this text here. And then for image attachment, also make sure that the name of this property is exactly the same as this. And you can leave all this the same, and you will select the URL from this create share link. So what you select is the download URL. Here we go. And that's all. So let's create a new template. This is a title. This is a subtitle. Here's some body text. Okay. Oh, template test. And I'm gonna copy this to my clipboard. Go back to Notion. Go back to Make and run. Let's see what happens. All right, we need to get the presentation. We need to click show page thumbnail, and we need to select yes. Forgot about that. So let's do it again. Okay, so this is the template. Here we go. Before we wrap up, let's quickly test the full functionality with make.com. So I'm gonna add a webhook, a tutorial. Yeah, just give it a name that's relevant to you. And gonna copy this to clipboard, and I'm gonna go back to Notion, and I'm gonna jump into the automations. So what you need to do is click new trigger, click create image. I'm gonna only select template 1, and the action needs to be send a webhook, and I'm gonna paste the URL of the webhook in here. You can select this content, it doesn't really matter, we don't really need it, but you never know, just click it and it will show up in make.com. And so now what happens if let's say I delete this one again, let's test it again. So I'm gonna click run this automation. Now it's waiting for a trigger from Notion. And once I click this, once I select template 1, it's gonna trigger the automation. Here we go. And now it's gonna create the image again. So that's as simple as it gets. And here's the image again. And there you have it. Your Notion database can now automate your content. Remember, this is just the beginning. In the next video, I'll show you how to create branded pieces of content with AI and post them on Twitter threads, on LinkedIn carousel posts, even on Instagram stories. So if this tutorial helped you, hit the like button and subscribe for more AI and automation tips, specifically with Notion. Don't forget to join the free community to get all of the templates that we use today. Drop a comment if you like to see any specific automation tutorials next. So in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.